Okay, today I'm going to demonstrate Sah Won Haeng. Sah is a martial art from India, the Grandmaster Lee Ji-hoon, modified by incorporating some elements of his Yongsu Judo technique. So there's a strong corollary between the snake style movement in the Indian form as a precursor to the elevated dragon style movements that we use in Yongsu Judo. Sah means snake in the mud, and Won Haeng roughly translates to covers a long distance. And the history behind that is that warriors in India would fight in river basins that had been flooded and then subsequently drained. So as they fought, if they stepped heavily, their foot would become stuck in the mud. So it became important to develop a system of martial art that relied heavily on sliding your feet. So you can see by removing yourself from a distance from the battlefield, looking back, these tracks cut through the mud, and that's the origin of the name for this martial art. We use three forms in our under black belt curriculum that are derived from the Sah style. First one is Sah Won Haeng, we'll be doing today. The second is a spear form, and then in our advanced curriculum, we have a sword form taken from the same martial art. One of the cool things about Sah and its connection to our Suhojin and Yongsu Judo technique is that it incorporates the use of gi, or the use of your body's internal energy. And one of the easiest ways to kind of check that is by incorporating proper use of what is called a snakehead palm. So in Sah, like we think about like a standard palm shape, okay, we're going to use the heel of our palm for striking. And even in our Yongsu Judo style, we use the small finger in, and we use that kind of dragon claw. Sah is a little bit different in that the shape of your hand should in some ways replicate like a snake head. So you want that rounded curvature over the top. And then you'll see my thumb is tucked underneath so that this point aligns with the center of my palm. That gives me a nice connective point between, kind of like a little spark plug, between my palm and my thumb, where my gi can kind of bounce back and forth and create a nice feeling and a nice effect. It also applies well with striking. So like a snake, we want to kind of lead in with the base, and we're going to follow through. So you can see, you can imagine if I was striking my opponent, the first thing it would hit would be my fingertips, and then following through with the heel of my palm. Now this is being applied to the front. The way we drill this in our form is by driving the hand down, okay? So when you see these movements made side to side and lifting, not only are we bringing the hand up as a blocking mechanism using the back of our wrist, but then we're practicing that leading with the heel of the palm after the fingertips. So you have 2 points of impact with that snakehead palm. You can practice forward like this. There's a nice way to work on that wrist dexterity, but when you're working in your form, it'll naturally help you develop that skill. So I'll demonstrate again one more time the form, a little bit more slowly with a nice emphasis on hand shape. Again, this is Sah Won Haeng, section 1, emphasis on hand shape. Sah Won Haeng. Okay, now you can see another thing here, it's a pretty important detail, is that my elbow is not flared out and behind me. This puts a lot of strain on the front part of the shoulder. We want to rotate our elbow down and engage our back muscles. So when you're checking your shape in your Sah, we want to be mindful of our snakehead palm, but we also don't want to rotate the elbow to the outside. This is improper. We want to make sure our elbows remain facing the ground as we make those shifts side to side. So check your palm. And also make sure as you're practicing, that elbow faces the ground. I'm going to demonstrate now Sah Won Haeng, section 1 at full speed. Before I get started, I want you guys to understand a little bit of the pattern work. It's all based off of the number of balance shifts that I'll be doing. The pattern is 5, 3, 3. And what you'll see is I'll do 5 before stepping, and then 3 balance and hand adjustments in each direction. Okay, so it looks like this. Sah Won Haeng. That's the end of section 1. Sometimes a little bit disorienting if I'm facing you guys. So I'm going to turn around and hopefully it'll make it a little bit easier as you're following along. Okay, so one more time. Section 1, Sah Won Haeng. Sah Won Haeng. moving on to Sah Won Haeng Section 2. I'm going to pick up from where I had stopped Section 1. It's going to be left hand up right here. Now we're going to be using a lot of the same hand shapes and incorporating some similar elements, but there's also going to be some differences in this section. Again, I'll demonstrate it at full speed first. Okay, so as we break that section down, again, it's helpful to have a memorizational cue. And when we're looking at those shifts in front, we're looking at a set of 3, where my body's shifting side to side. And then as I move to my right, I use those snakehead palms 4 times. And each time, my hands are going to be stacked directly one over the other. There's no gap between my hands. And then I do 4, back the other way. Now the biggest error that I see consistently in the next section is the failure to incorporate the inside hand. So even though I'm blocking with this hand, I'm going to cut it out the first time. And when I come around, I'm going to use my left hand to make that circular movement. Now my back hand is going to push down as my front foot goes forward. And I keep my feet in the same line, my hand directly in my center line. Now for my last movement, I'm going to move my right foot a little bit to the outside, more like a front stance, and again, pull that hand down directly in my center. When I turn around, I would use my right hand for the same function, again, dominating my center line, down, up, down at the end, and you'll note again, my feet are a little bit wider, okay? So picking it up from right here, again, you're looking for that pattern of 3, finishing on my right with my right hand up, 4, right hand up, and then 4 again, left with my right hand up. Using my left hand, circling my right, down, up, down. Looking, grabbing, pushing, down, up, down. And then I'll finish section 2 for you. Following along, section 2 from behind. So finishing section 1 here. All right, section 3. This is where the form breaks from pattern a little bit, and there's no more of that repeating on both sides, that kind of thing. The form just goes a little bit more free form here. So paying attention to stepping pattern and knowing which way to turn and how to transition between each component of the form becomes a memorization thing. So it's important that we drill this section quite a bit and that we can be comfortable with it. I'll demonstrate the form at speed again from that final position in section 2, which if you recall, was right here. Sah Won Haeng, section 3. Because of the breakdown in the form and there being an inconsistency as far as repeating skills side to side, things that we can cue off of is that are helpful is that anytime we're iterating multiple times with our hand, we're always going to be right hand up. With very few exceptions in the form, this is always the case. So a lot of people also get stuck with this initial turn. So the way that it works is this hand is down, and obviously this is my top hand. If I were to step straight forward and just switch those hands, that makes sense. But for some reason, adding that 90-degree turn makes it a little bit tricky. So just remember here, my bottom hand becomes, as my feet come together, my top hand. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, you can see this is my right hand and it is up. So I know that I've done the proper number of techniques. Bring my feet and my hands together at the same time, and then back to the top. Now as I come in here again, I've got 1, 2, and again my left hand, and then 3, 4, 5, 6. And my right hand again being up shows me that I've done the proper number of transitions here. Good snakehead palm, good control of my center line, proper weight distribution to my left leg. Now I'm catching, turning, and I'm keeping my right hand in front of me. A very common mistake is to pull that hand too far back. Now as I do this one, only half shift, back to my right, and then a deep shift to my left. Now when I'm in the air, 1, 2, 3 times jumping, and again you'll notice that my right hand is up as I finish that pattern. I'm going to step forward with my right foot, step past my left foot with what's called a J step, because it draws a backwards J. And I grab my elbow with my right hand, again using that hand to power my high block as I turn around with 2 circling movements, and then I'm going to press with my right hand against my forearm to finish the threat to the front. Right foot returns, and we're done. Section 3, this time kind of following along from behind. You'll notice that the last section of the form, I'll be back facing this way. So if you need to kind of spring back to the other demonstration that I've done in the video to get a little bit more following along, that material is available for you. But we'll be picking it up at the end of section 2, right here. The Sah Won Haeng, section 3.